Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. Oh, did we have a fantastic live stream earlier this evening. I went for about 2 hours, and I'll put a link below so you can actually go and check it out if you missed it. And it's all about options when seeking asylum in the US and the procedures, and it was really, really informative. Okay, now, getting back to the topic. Eskom, totally fucking. But don't let that worry President Cyril Ramaphosa. There's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, just pour more money down the bucket, dear Liza, da-da. Now, okay, I've probably switched everybody off with my singing, but hey, it is what it is, guys, it is what it is. If we don't make a joke of it, it would just be so tragic. President Cyril Ramaphosa said in his recent State of the Nation address that Eskom is facing serious financial, operational and structural problems. Fuckamaned. While Eskom has sufficient cash to meet its obligations until the end of October 2019, its financial position remains a matter of grave concern. For Eskom to default on its loan will cause a cross-default on its remaining debt and would have a huge impact on the already constrained fiscus, Ramaphosa said. Since a reliable and sustainable supply of electricity is essential to support South Africa's economy, Eskom cannot be allowed to fail. To support the state-owned enterprise, the government will table a special appropriation bill to allocate a significant portion of the 230 billion rand Eskom needs. Details about this funding have been sketchy, and Ramaphosa merely said further details will be provided by the Minister of Finance in due course. We can now shed some more light on how the government will get the money to save Eskom. According to the paper, Eskom bailout will most likely be paid for through a combination of debt, in particular the issuing of extra state bonds. Secondly, approaching major multilateral institutions for loans. Thirdly, tax hikes for the next year. And fourthly, a reallocation of government expenditure. Well, that's not going to cut it, not for 280 billion rand. They haven't got that in their budget. Instead of focusing on restructuring Eskom, Ramaphosa seemed to succumb to union and political pressure with his bailout plan. It's one thing I've noticed about Ramaphosa. Have you noticed this? That he seems to be a very spineless person. You look what's going on with Ace Magashula and this huge fracture happening in the ANC. He hasn't dragged that guy up in front of him and said, hey, cut it out. He's letting him do this. So Ramaphosa seems to be a very, very weak leader. And I think that's a huge issue here. ETM macro advisors economist Russell Lamberty told this paper that he expected the bailout to be between 161 billion and 184 billion rand. Economists said the continual bailout of Eskom is not sustainable, and that restructuring and privatizing the power utility are needed to save it. ANC Treasurer General Paul Mashatile said work had already begun on breaking up Eskom, and announcements in that regard would be made soon. Many stakeholders, however, said Ramaphosa seems to have backtracked on these plans after facing a backlash from unions and politicians. The paper reported that Ramaphosa's cabinet has blocked the plan to save Eskom by breaking it into 3 separate entities: generation, transmission and distribution, and getting funding from green power financiers. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the Ramaphosa family, and we're talking about brothers-in-laws and sisters-in-laws and cousins and whatever, are the biggest generators of electricity through renewable resources like solar power and wind and stuff like that. They've got their fingers so deep in this pie. they're on the take big time behind the scenes here. And I'm talking about Ramaphosa and his cronies and his family. This is an absolutely shocking situation. It's a transfer of wealth from the largely white population to not the black population, but to the Ramaphosa consortium. And that is what is actually going on here in the background. Intellidex capital markets researcher Peter Attard Montalto said the Eskom bailout is disappointing as free money was offered with no additional pain politically or for vested interest to ensure sustainability. Better Bond CEO Rudy Botha told the paper he is concerned about the president's plan to accelerate the appropriation of the 230 billion rand for the Eskom bailout. He warned that it will take more money out of the pockets of consumers who are already under pressure. So there you have it, guys. You've got this big bucket with a big hole, and the money's just pouring straight through it. Straight out of the hands of the taxpayers, right into the pockets of the Ramaphosa family. All right, guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates, and have a good evening. Bye for now.